If I had to go back in time to the point before I even started working out, I'd find a skinny, unenlightened version of myself. But if I knew the things that I know now, I'd focus on these things to get started and refine my process so that I can see results faster and easier. So the first things first is prioritization. So back then, I believed that, the gym was something that you didn't need to take too seriously, especially if you're a soccer player. You can just go maybe once a week or maybe twice a week max. You don't need a routine. You don't need to do anything crazy. This is because I was experiencing a fallacy that's known as noob gains, where even though I just showed up and did random stuff, I would still experience, muscle gains and strength gains. The truth is, if you actually want to make significant progress, not just, a small amount of fitness progress, not just, okay, you want to go on a walk twice a week. Okay, if that's your goal, fair enough. But if you want to, build some muscle, build an aesthetic body, make significant strength gains, you need to make sure that the gym is one of your top priorities in life. It can't be number 5 or 6 down the list. It has to be one, number 2, or maybe number 3 can work. If you have game night, movie night, going out with your friends, your social life, you have all these things that are coming before, and then on top of that you have your real responsibilities like your family, your work. You just have to realize that your fitness and the gym is just not going to have a place in your life. You're not going to be able to make significant progress. That's the harsh reality. That's the truth that you need to understand. It's one of the first filters I use when I'm filtering out clients and we're trying to determine how successful someone will be. Your prioritization and your importance on fitness is one of the most important factors in determining your success. Where you put your effort and your focus is where you're going to see the results. The next thing I would say to someone looking to get into shape is that you want to find some form of intrinsic motivation. And the reason for that is because once you are intrinsically motivated, once you have a reason that fitness and the gym and your goals in that line up with your core identity, once you make that connection, everything else will naturally fall into place and happen faster and easier. You'll be more naturally inclined to have a better diet. You're going to push yourself harder in the gym. You're going to be less likely to skip days. You're going to stay more disciplined. You're going to make sure that you rest properly. You're not going to go out partying every single week because you know that it's going to affect your results. Especially if you're trying to do something very difficult. Like let's say you're trying to grow muscle mass, right? Growing muscle, train for hypertrophy. It's a very, very difficult task because you have to train to muscular failure. It's very tough mentally to do. A lot of people are just incapable of doing that. And so that's why having, the intrinsic motivation, some kind of inner flame or fire that's going to push you really hard to see results and achieve your goals is very, very important. For me, I had the motivation of, I always wanted to be an athlete. I always wanted to be respected for my athletic ability, but that was it never came to be. I was just like the quiet brown kid. That was what everyone knew me as. And so the gym was kind of an outlet where I can really push myself extremely hard and have the results show themselves. People could see it now. I can push harder beyond other people. And so for me, that was kind of my intrinsic motivation. There's lots of other things. People have God or whatever else. Find that reason and try to play to it as strong as possible. Repeat it over and over in your head. Make it your mantra. That way, you'll always be motivated. You'll always push yourself to the maximum. You'll be more disciplined and you'll be more successful. The next thing is I notice a lot of beginners experience this kind of problem, especially when it comes to lifting weights, is they go for, a couple months and it's they feel like they're not going anywhere. You need to understand how perceived gains work. A lot of times it seems like we're making no progress and then suddenly it's just a massive amount of progress all at once. And so it's the same thing when it comes to building muscle. When it comes to a lot of things, especially in the gym, you might be building muscle, but you might not see it. Maybe it doesn't pop as much. And then suddenly, it grows beyond the layer of fat that you had. So now it's starting to pop really well. Or maybe you lost weight and now suddenly you can see your six pack. Maybe you lost 5 pounds, but it didn't really look as much. But then you lost that last half a pound and now you can see the abs coming. So it's all about perceived gains. Even though you did all the hard work, all the effort was spent losing 5 pounds, the results you only saw in that last half a pound that you lost, right? And so you have to realize with fitness, it's very much the same thing. When it comes to plateaus, when it comes to, building muscle mass, when it comes to losing weight, seeing the six pack, whatever your goals are, a lot of times you have to do a lot of work without actually seeing an incredible amount of results. And then suddenly it'll just all fly off the handle at once. For me, with the six pack example I just gave, it was very much the case. I was cutting. I was like, what the hell? It doesn't even feel like anything's happening. And then suddenly, boom, six pack. And so What the lesson is you have to stick through it in order to realize the gains. It's not linear. It takes your body a while to adapt. Maybe 1 week your joints are adapting. Maybe 1 week your nervous system's adapting. Maybe 1 week it's your tendons. And then the last week it's your muscles. You gotta stick with it. You gotta stay long enough to realize the results, to see the progress. All right, next thing, let's talk about some of the basics. All right, if you're liking this video so far, be sure to check out my free routine in the description below. It's the same routine that I use to bulk up and build over 25 pounds of muscle mass. I highly recommend it to anyone else who's looking to do the same. Anyways, next, let's talk about the 4 basic pillars. So for me, I truly believe that fitness is all about 4 basic pillars, 4 things that you need to consider and consolidate. And beyond that, all of the extra stuff is just fluff and you don't need it. So first thing is diet. So diet, you just need to understand, what are you doing? Are you trying to build muscle or are you trying to lose weight? And based on that, you need to either eat more food or eat less food. You don't need to overcomplicate your diet or do anything crazy, especially when you're first starting out, when you haven't been at it for that long. Your diet doesn't need to be complicated, stressful. Your diet alone is not going to carry you either. Some people believe that eating a salad is going to make them skinny. Especially when it comes to building muscle, there's a lot of other things that come before diet. The main thing you need to understand with diet is what's your goals and how much you need to eat for those goals. Effort. So your effort is where the gains are actually made. So, your intensity, how hard you push yourself. You only really make changes to yourself and your body when you push beyond your limits. If you just push to the point of being tired, you're not really going to demand a change from your body. You have to actually push that limit a little bit harder, especially when it comes to building muscle mass, when it comes to training for hypertrophy. You need to push really hard beyond that limit. My coach used to say, training just till the point of tired doesn't do anything. It's only when we train beyond being tired, that's when we're making the change. And it's very true. So you need to understand that if you want to make a significant change to your body, to your metabolism, to your muscles, whatever it is you're looking to do, you need to train hard enough to deserve that change. The third pillar is consistency. So the core to consistency is just about discipline. It's just about sticking with your routine, sticking with your regimen, no matter what. There's going to be days when you don't feel like it. There's going to be days where things are going to be challenging. You're going to have responsibilities coming up, and it's going to be very, very easy to make an excuse to not stay consistent, to slack off, to fall off your routine. Listen, this happens to everybody. It's part of life. It's your job to work around these obstacles and stay consistent. If you don't, it's going to be very, very hard to see the results that you want to see. Lastly is rest and recovery. For people who are wanting to build muscle, to gain some mass, train for hypertrophy, it's very important that you don't train every day or 6 days a week. Yes, I know there's people who do that and still build muscle. Those people probably aren't as successful as they can be if they were to train a little bit less and allow themselves to recover and experience the growth stimulus. Remember, your muscles only grow when you're resting. They don't actually grow from training them. Let's talk about your routine and the trends you need to follow and the trends you don't need to follow. So you need to stop hopping onto every new trend that you see. You need to just stay focused, stay disciplined, and stick with the one routine that aligns with your goals. So I'm going to give you a foolproof method to know how to find a routine that is aligned with your goals and is right for you. Is the routine that you're doing a well-proven, well-structured routine that aligns exactly with their goals and that it's proven to work? Like, people have done it and it's well recommended for exactly the goals that you want to do? Or is it a routine that's backed by scientific experiments? It's backed by influencers who are trying to do something unique, quirky, or look cool for clicks? Or is it a routine that promises you some kind of shortcut, some kind of hack, some kind of way to accomplishing the results by working around doing the hard work and instead finding some weird shortcut or hack in order to see results? See, if it's one of the last 3 things I described, science or quirky routine or something that's going to hack your way into seeing results, chances are that's not what's going to get you the results you want to see. That's what's going to get clicks and waste people's time. What you need to follow is a proven, trusted framework that is guaranteed to going to see results. Yes, you're going to have to put in the work. Yes, you're going to have to put in the time. But if you want to see the results, that's what you need to do. You can't be doing any of these ones over here on this side. Like I said, I have a free hypertrophy routine in the description. It's an upper-lower routine that I use. You can use, whatever routine you want that fits the goals that you want to see. You don't want to be following scientific studies. The reason I go into scientific studies a lot about why they're not good for fitness, but basically science has a lot of biases, and science also doesn't measure all the variables of the real world. And basically, long story short, a lot of scientific studies, they have a specific goal in mind. So of course they're going to find that goal that they want to find. You know, if you look at, you know, optimal hypertrophy rep ranges, they're going to say like 5 reps or 3 reps even. That's not ideal, but there's studies that are going to show that. You need to do what all of the best bodybuilders did, not what, you know, a quirky hack or a routine or anything like that. All right, almost done, but we're just going to round up these couple points. So with the diet, one more thing I want to impress upon people with the diet is, you know, stop avoiding carbs. They're not poisonous, especially if you're trying to gain weight, you're trying to gain muscle mass. Carbs are not poison. They're going to definitely benefit you and help you into achieving your results. Especially people who are looking to bulk up and build a super aesthetic body. You know, they want to build muscle mass, but they also want to, you know, get shredded later. You have to, you know, be okay with gaining weight. You have to be okay with bulking up. You know, you might lose a 6-pack for a bit. It's part of the process. You have to trust the process and know that you're going to see the results if you do all the hard work. There's no other way. If you're doing, like, lots of guys trying to do lean bulking, all these random things, it's so much slower and it's just not worth it. All right, lastly, let's talk about supplements. Supplements, you don't need them at all. If you are someone, you know, let's say who's started tracking your protein and you realize, okay, maybe you're not making your protein numbers, you can experiment with protein powder, see how that goes. It is quite expensive. It's also just worse than eating food. I would rather just eat the food. But let's say you can't eat the food for some reason, you can't find the food, but you can get the protein powder. It's not a terrible idea. And let's say you're bulking, you really want that last little extra edge, then you can go for creatine as well. It's also even more expensive, I believe, than protein powder, but it does help you lift more weights. Like when I hit 225 for 8, when I was like peak bulk on my second year, I was on creatine. You know, I just don't like the feeling. It's just that you just have extra water on you and you can lift more weights, but like, it's up to you whether you like that or not. But don't overcomplicate supplements, don't overthink them. You know, they're not necessary by any means. Anyways, that's a really long video, but I hope you guys found some useful insights in that. If you're looking to start your fitness journey, you're looking to get in shape, I would say just go for it. You know, be excited for it. It's definitely going to be the best change you can make to your life. Fitness is probably the most important thing you can have in your life. It's the most valuable currency to humans. So yeah, just go for it. And yeah, best of luck to you. With that being said, check out my link in the description. It's a free routine, but like the video if you did. Subscribe if you're not already. I'll see you in the next one.